grab the middle one with the frog tape, that green frog tape on it, and we might get to that today. So now what I want you to do is I want you to, instead of starting with your hands, I think you kind of start up here or something, and then you just keep them up there. I want you to start them down here. It's going to feel like they're down here to you, right, down by your hips. But I want you to start them. Thumb doesn't get any higher than your armpits. Okay, so actually, I got a good one for you, good visual. Let me grab my yellow stamp. Yeah, it'll go under that. No, bro. Okay. So your armpits, is that about right? About where your armpits are at? Yep. That seem about right? Okay, so we're gonna put this here. So we don't want you, just gonna weave it into the netting. So I don't want your hands to get above that. I don't want them to get above. So even when you go into your load, I want them to stay below this yellow line, okay? So nothing up here, start with them underneath it. And if you want them to come up a little bit, then start them lower, but don't come up any higher than this, okay? All right. So same thing, finger pressure. Make sure we're doing finger pressure on all of them. But now we're just lowering your hands, okay? I can't wait till the future comes where we can actually have a physical thing like that. Go right here, and it gives you feedback. So it'd be, anytime your hands come up, you hear, They might be able to do it now, but that'd be so cool because it gives you the feedback right away, and you're like, ooh, I didn't do it right there. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, because then you won't have to worry about feel as much, you know, because then you're listening for audio feedback instead of so much of feeling where you're at in space, you know. But it'd be pretty cool. It'd be a good little tool to use. So finger pressure on all, and hands not getting above this yellow line. Okay.
Like right here.
Yep. Does that feel like your hands are down by your knees? Yeah. Remember, it's a top hand that we're keying in on. So if that top hand, the bottom hand can keep going up, and it's going to take a while, but it's a top hand we're keying in on. I don't want that to get above that yellow line.
All right.
Yeah. All right, let's try it out. Do what you do with your hands, just don't let them come up. You can bring them back and hide them if you want, but just don't let them come up. Okay, so now take those 5 swings, think about them, how they felt, just kind of overall picture, okay? And compare those to your first 5 swings today, or just warming up off the tee. How did it feel? Did it feel like it was harder to swing the bat, easier? And that's a longer bat than what you got. Probably an ounce heavier too. So that's probably a little bit bigger than your normal bat, right? So how did it feel to you? How were those, comparing those sections of swings?
I feel a little bit better.
Did it feel lighter at all, or no?
Yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Definitely lighter, of course, after swinging the heavy one, but I'm trying to get you to feel those 5 swings versus the 5 swings in the beginning with your bat. So it felt a little lighter?
Yeah. I feel like it was a little bit quicker, slower.
Yeah. So and that's what I was saying. With that bat, a 32 probably feels heavy, and you need to swing a 32 with the old mechanics. Because of where you were putting the bat. Think about this. If you get, and we might have did this before with you, but just take the bat, put it in your bottom hand. No, put it in your strong hand. Put it in your right hand. And just let it, hold it parallel to the ground. Okay, so it's not touching your shoulder. You feel where the weight is. Kind of feel it in your hand, right? So now what I want you to do is flip it up so it's straight up and down. Which way holding the bat feels lighter? This way. How come? What did we do? We didn't change the weight of the bat, did we? No. What did we do? So to find the center mass of the bat, the balance point. On this bat, I know where it's at. It's right here. It's right in the middle. So if you pinch it between your 2 fingers, your thumb and your index finger, okay, where you're not cupping it like this, right? Between your thumb and it, so the balance point. if I go like this, if I move it down towards the handle a little bit more, see how it goes this way? So if I move it up a little bit more, it goes this way, right? So this one, this bat center mass is right here. You see that? So what happens is, if I hold my hands up high and allow the bat to go flat, where's that center mass now? Behind me or above me? Behind me, okay? So now when I go up, which tends to happen when I drop my hands, okay, notice it's hard for me to do this and hold it flat with my hands down, thumb in line with my armpit, right? So then what happens is bat tends to go more vertical, okay? We don't want it like super vertical, although some hitters do hit like this. Paul Goldschmidt, when he goes to, I don't know how he starts, but when he goes to, like at landing, I mean, his bat's almost vertical like this, which isn't a bad thing, but I don't teach my hitters. I like some kind of an angle to it. But when you go here now, our center mass, males, tends to be around the sternum, inside, in the middle of the body, okay? So this point, and then where those points intersect, middle, and then here, okay? Females tend to be around the belly button, same thing, in the middle, okay? But it's in the middle of our body. So once we put the barrels, especially when it gets heavy, when we put the bat's balance point behind you, it's going to take a long time to get this thing around, because now we got to do stuff like bar it out early to get it to come around, or we'll see that that back elbow race past the hands to try and drag that thing through, right? And then we'll see the barrel drop, and then we'll see it roll over, right? We see the with the racing back elbow, we see a lot of weak fly balls to the opposite field. We see a lot of rollovers to the pull side of the field. So once we get the bat above you, now we get the balance point of the bat above the balance point of you. Now it's easier to manipulate. Now I can be quicker with it, right? Time to impact is less because now it's above your center mass. Easier to move around. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's why you felt what you felt. Possibly because you just finished hitting with this is heavier, so that felt lighter, but I wanted you to try and take those 5 swings with that bat and compare them to those 5 swings earlier. Because I know that probably felt heavier earlier. Okay. Any other questions with that? Now let's take a round with this bat. With the heavier one, same thing, finger pressure. Oh, any of those we lose finger pressure or didn't start it, end it when we were supposed to?
I think it was the second one.
You just started it different?
Yeah.
Ended it different?
Yeah.
So just one seems to float around in there every once in a while. And you're probably thinking more about your hands not going above this thing? Okay, good, that's okay, that's pretty natural. All right, same thing. Don't let your hands get above your top hand, your thumb, top hand thumb, get above this, and finger pressure on all of them. Okay, now we're just changing the bat, making it heavier. Two more. Last one. Okay, so how about there with finger pressure? Any of those?
Yeah, the last one I felt like I started a little bit later.
Okay.
But like not too late, so it's alright.
A lot better?
Yeah.
Okay. Any of those you feel the thumb get above this line?
Maybe that last one.
Okay.
Like,
Feel it float up a little bit?
yeah.
Okay. And now how did that bat feel?
Alright.
Take those swings and compare those with that bat to the other swings with that bat before we moved your hands down. Remember, we had your hands up here, we're just working finger pressure.
Yeah.
Did it feel lighter than those swings?
Yeah,
Same bat now,
a little bit lighter.
but now we're down versus hands up, where the center mass was behind you. A little bit? Can you remember those swings?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I felt like a little bit quicker and like I could like put the bat on the ball.
You can put more on it.
Yeah.
You can put more on it, and that's what it. Since we started with finger pressure, it just looked like you're able to put more on it. Yeah, much better. One other thing that I was looking at, you do get to you start kind of in a like a Buster Posey style, right? And then as you get into it, you do hip hinge. I feel like you're a little too straight with your back though. I feel like you're a little too rigid with your back. Did we talk about the hunch position before? Okay. So I would like to see you hunch just a little bit more from the start, and then do what you normally do. Like, so you can start from here. Like, think about Troy Tulowitzki. You know Troy Tulowitzki, that name, or no?
Yeah.
I think he's still with the Blue Jays. But he's more straight up and down. But you see him, he's like in this position. Like he starts from he's straight, but you see his he's bent over like this, right? So that's what I kind of see you doing. You kind of start like this, right? And then just kind of abdominals, contract, pull the rib cage down, and then we're just kind of in this position here, and then go into what you normally do. So let's maybe add that. The finger pressure, I know it sounds like we're like adding a lot. The hands thing I think is a little tougher for you to kind of think about because you're used to get up here, right? I think that's a big change from what you've been used to. But this is a set it, forget it almost. I mean, your hand motion just needs to stay underneath it. But once you set it, keep it there. This motion's good, just don't let it float up, right? The finger pressure, to me, is not really a huge mechanical thing. It's just something you just squeeze as hard as you can for as long as you can, right? This is another thing, get it out of the way, you're done. It's not really, these three things don't really tax the brain that much. Once we start getting into, you know, how we land with this front knee, I mean, it starts to get a little bit more difficult. So let me see what that looks like. So get into your stance. We've done this before, so it's like riding a bike, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see the hunch position. There you go. So it's just like that. Remember I made you do that hollow position during our warm-ups? So pushing your lower back into the ground and taking your shoulders and pulling them together, creating that hollow. In gymnastics they call it the hollow position because you're creating a hollow with your chest. And it's usually when they're swinging forward, you'll see them. They'll point their toes. They can't get in it from a standing position, but they're pointing their toes and they're holding on to the bar this way, and you'll see them when they swing forward. That's what that position looks like. So that's how you work it when we're on the ground. Push the lower back in, pull the shoulders together, so we create that scoop here. It's the same with the chest. We want to create this kind of scoop, just like you do when you sit at the dinner table and you slump, right? Your dad tells you to sit up straight. So it's the same thing. So you're just kind of getting, you know, you're starting from this position, you're going from here to just relax and just let it go, okay? And that's actually going to probably lower your hands too, because look at the difference between me starting here, okay, with my hands where they need to be, versus now look what happens. I didn't even move my hands. See? I didn't even move them, but they moved down because I went from here to here. So those might help to lower too. Okay, so let's try around. Let's grab your bat now. So now it's going to feel super light. You might need to take just a couple warm-up swings because we just went from super heavy to super light. There you go. There you go. Take maybe one more. Yep, yeah, did you see how your abdominals pulled your rib cage down? And then once your abdominals pull your rib cage down, then you can relax your abdominals. Once you're in the position, you can relax it. You don't have to do this while you're hitting, right? You can just pull them down and then just relax them. Once it's set, it's set. All right, so let's try that. So we got finger pressure going. We have our more hunch position, right? And we got those hands, the thumb not getting above the armpits, okay? There you go. One more. Okay, so how did those swings feel with the hunch position versus the 5 swings before? Any difference there or the same?
Difference. Just felt a little bit weird.
Good. That means different. Yeah. Did you feel like you could put any more on the ball or about the same?
About the same.
About the same. Okay. How about with finger pressure? Do we lose it? Do we do pretty good with it for the most part?
I think you did pretty good.
Good there. Did you notice that this helps? That hunch position helps to keep the hands down a little bit, because it's tough to go hunch and then hold your hands up here. To me it feels awkward to do that. So if you get them down in a more comfortable position, again, you're not going to throw a knockout punch up here, right? Hands high. Most likely it's going to be somewhere slotting in this zone, right? That thumb is going to be about the armpit level. I mean, if you're really getting $1 million on the line to knock them out, if you don't knock them out, they're going to knock you out. You're going to probably slot somewhere in here. Boom, right? You're not going to go Right? Does that look goofy?
Yeah.
If I got $1 million on the line, I'm not going up here. I'm gonna go right here. I'm gonna get everything behind it so that I can throw my body into it. Up here, it just seems detached. It seems disconnected, right?
Yeah.
Here, it feels connected. Is that what you're kind of feeling when you're taking your swings now with your hands in that position?
Yeah, sort of.
A little bit more connected? Like you said, you feel like you can put more into it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's like that knockout punch. Okay. You feel like you got this?
Yeah.
Okay. So those are more of like cosmetic things, like lipstick, right? So you can set them from the beginning and you don't have to worry about it the rest of the day, type of thing, okay? So now we're gonna work on when you're snapping your wrist. Okay, you saw I showed you that on video, right? So let me get you another marker out here. And remember, different is always okay. Different, if something feels different or awkward, when you're doing something new, is okay, because that's all part of the process. If it doesn't feel different in the beginning, then you're not doing anything different. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I had you write left-handed, you write right-handed, right?
Yeah.
If I had you write left-handed, that's weird, right? But if you did that if you couldn't write, if say you broke your hand, you had to write left-handed, for a month or two, I had friends that broke their wrist, hand, finger, something like that, where they couldn't write right-handed. They had to go left for like months. They got really good at writing left-handed where it felt comfortable, right? So over time, that awkwardness will get comfortable, right? We just got to make sure we're going down the bumpers of the bowling alley, right? We have bumpers; those are our rules. I don't care how that ball, what path it goes down the bumpers, just as long as it stays between the bumpers. Like our bumper, here's a bumper, right? Our hands don't go above this bumper, right? Our finger pressure, starting and end it when we need to. Those are our bumpers. You can do whatever you want in there, but I want you squeezing it hard within those bumpers. Does that make sense? Same thing with this. These are our bumpers. As long as you're in this position, how that looks, feels. I mean, you could be like a Pete Rose. Pete Rose used to be, like this, right? I'm not expecting you to be like that, but he's got the hunch. He just had more of a hip hinge. But just as long as you got the hunch, the hollow position. Again, that's a strong position in gymnastics. They use that as a trend.
Did you know it's possible to become the top 5% of coaches in 6 months? You know how frustrating it is taking the time to pick and choose the most effective coaching strategies that actually work. You may also have fears that the coaching strategies you're currently following are not validated by science. It's also a possibility you have a hopeless feeling because nothing else has worked up until now. And lastly, you may be holding a little envy for other coaches who seem to be getting their troops to cleanly execute on the field. I've discovered some of these same thoughts and more from the parents of the hitters I teach both online and off. It's a challenge for coaches, especially newer ones, but here's what I found. That it is possible to become the top 5% of coaches in 6 months when we're applying human social and psychological principles that are validated by science to coaching youth athletes. And that's why I wrote The Science of Sticky Coaching, How to Turn Ordinary Athletes into Extraordinary book that is now available for purchase on Amazon.com. Now, once you've read the book, there are a few things that both baseball and softball parents or coaches will realize. A greater sense of confidence that your coaching strategy is the same one that's supported by top 5% of teachers, parents, and coaches. A bigger sense of relief that the coaching strategy you'll learn is validated by the gold standard of science, empirical research. A constant state of joy because your new coaching strategy will make mentally tough athletes focused on the controlled process and not uncontrollable outcomes. At Hit Perform Lab, just finished Science of Sticky Coaching book, and it should be required reading for all youth baseball coaches. #Bell to Hat at BCats Baseball. Please click here to get your copy on Amazon today.